Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the January 27th, 2025 Shelby Township Planning Commission meeting. I'll ask Secretary Moore to please call the roll.
Mr. DeShaw?
Present.
Mr. Long? Here. Ms. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Casali?
Here.
Mr. Opone?
Here.
Mr. Loray?
Here.
Chairman Moffett is absent this evening. Acting Chairman Turner is here in his absence.
Yep.
And now we have a quorum.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Raquel. First item tonight is our approval of the agenda.
So move.
Support.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is approval of the minutes from our January 13th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Also with us tonight, we have our planner, Julie Misich, and our township attorney, Bob Kirk. First item tonight on our agenda, actually only item on the agenda, is a site plan public hearing straight rezoning request, number 24-42, George Leaney, George Leaney Property Rental LLC, 12533 and 12595 22 Mile Road, located on the north side of 22 Mile Road, west of Shaner Road. Proposed rezoning from R1B, single-family residential, to R5, multiple-family low-rise. And this is a public hearing, so I'll ask Secretary to please read the notice as published.
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for the following rezoning. Applicant, George Leaney, Property Rental LLC, George Leaney, 6357, 31 Mile Road, Washington, Michigan, 48095. The proposed zoning, rezoning from R1B, single-family residential, to R5, multiple family low-rise. Location 12533 and 12595, 22 Mile Road. Located on the north side of 22 Mile Road, west of Shaner Road, straight rezoning 24-42. Sidwell numbers 23-07-23-300-009 and 23-07-23-300-011. Legal description is as follows for the following properties as stated on the public hearing notice. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, January 27th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Township Municipal Building, Boardroom, 52700 Van Dyke Avenue, Shelby Township, Michigan, 48316, 586-726-7243, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the rezoning application. The application for the rezoning may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published in the Shelby Utica News on January 8th, 2025. There were 85 property owners, 3 applicants, and 9 utilities were notified by first-class mail on January 7th, 2025.
Thank you, Raquel. Mr. Kirk, does the publication meet all legal requirements as stipulated in local ordinance and state statute? All right, thank you. Did we receive any correspondence, Raquel?
We did, Mr. Chair. In addition to what we had in our packet prior to the meeting this evening, we had a couple pieces of notifications, letters from residents opposing it, and then as of tonight, we received 4 more pieces of mail from residents opposing the rezoning change.
Thank you. And I would say for the record, they went from opposing to strongly oppose to vehemently oppose to completely oppose. So I think we're pretty clear where the residents in the area stand on this. So, okay, this is a public hearing. The format for the public hearing will be as, anybody have any questions of the attorney or anything before we go on? Okay. The format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner or his representative will give a presentation stating the reasons for the rezoning. Commissioners may then ask questions of the petitioner. The floor will then be open to the public, and then the petitioner may make any concluding remarks. So is the petitioner here? You can come on down. Let us know what you're proposing with this rezoning. State your name and address, too, for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Tom Callis. I'm representing the petitioner and applicant, George Leaney Prop Rental, LLC. My address is 31350 Telegraph Road, Suite 201, and that's in Bingham Farms, Michigan. And we are here this evening seeking rezoning of the subject property, which consists of a total of 5.795 acres from its current R1B. Is this on? Yep.
Yeah.
Current R1B single family to a R5 low-rise multifamily.
Did everybody hear him in the audience? Okay, go ahead,
okay.
Mr. Callis.
So this is a vacant piece of property that is surrounded by a manufactured housing community to the north and to the west. There's a 60-foot ITC corridor with overhead power lines abutting the property to the east. The frontage of the property abuts 22 Mile Road, which is a major road with traffic and busy. So this is a piece of property that, under its current zoning, really is not usable. R1B, under your zoning ordinance, requires minimum 14,400 square foot lots with minimum 90-foot width. So that equates to a 90 by 160-foot wide lot. That size lot on this property, considering the uses around it, the overhead wires, which obviously are a detriment to, expensive larger lot housing, make this property current zoning not economically feasible and unmarketable as zoned. Because of that, and obviously the property has remained vacant for all these years because of the current zoning. So we have requested a rezoning to R5. It's a multifamily low-rise. What we suggested, and what I did subsequent, we did receive your planner's review letter today, actually, this afternoon, and we reviewed it with the client, with the engineer, and realizing that, there were some concerns in there. What we proposed to do, and actually did submit an email this afternoon to your township attorney, your planner, also, is a supplement to our rezoning application. And what that supplement does is it actually attaches conditions to our rezoning to the R5. Now, we know under R5 there are permitted uses that are allowed, and there are special land uses that are allowed. Some of those special land uses may not be acceptable to the surrounding residents who are here this evening and who have submitted letters opposing the rezoning. So in order to give yourselves, the planning commissioners, the residents, and the township board a comfort level so you know what you're going to get on this property as opposed to giving us rezoning and then we come in with a totally different use, we submitted, or actually I submitted, an email supplement to our rezoning this afternoon. I don't know if do you have copies of it, or were you provided with a copy?
I have not seen a copy of that, no.
I will read it into the record, actually. So what we propose to do with our rezoning under R5 is to attach conditions to it. Now, as I'm sure you're well aware, Michigan has a conditional rezoning statute that allows a developer or landowner to offer in writing certain conditions as part of a rezoning request. That statute is MCL 125.3405. Mr. Kirk, Julie are obviously aware of it, as I'm sure you are also. So what we propose in that rezoning application is, or supplement is, should you be inclined to recommend approval of the rezoning request, which then will go to the township board for a decision, we have agreed to offer the following conditions, which under the law, my client will be bound by. The residents will know what's coming on that property, what type of units, and we can proceed accordingly. So there were 5 conditions attached to my letter. The first condition, obviously, is these will be multifamily detached units under the low-rise. And again, they're low-rise units, so it's no high-rise developments. The buildings that will be built will consist of duplex up to 6-plex units. So in other words, each building will either have a duplex, could have a 4-plex, could have a 6-plex, a 5-plex. And the reason we offer that is because this is a very difficult site to develop. It is horizontally, there's a 50-foot wide drain easement that cuts right across the property. So that takes away a lot of the developable parcel or part of the property. We also need, per ordinance, to provide on-site detention. We have looked at some conceptual layouts with on-site detention on the property, predominantly on the southwest part of the property, and that's obviously going to take up some more land, which will not be allowed for, residential use or housing units. So it's a very difficult piece. In addition to the overhead wires, which, depending on what side of the fence you're on, can be very detrimental to large lot housing units because of the negative press that's associated with that. We actually have the manufactured housing development to the north and west, and there's actually a stub road that was provided, I understand, from that manufactured housing development to my client's property. Now, I don't know if that was intended for future development and use of my client's property for a continuation of that manufactured housing development or not, but it is there. So, and actually, your master plan designates this property, from what we saw, as medium-density residential. So it's consistent with what we are proposing. Now, the other conditions that were attached or that were proposed is the dwelling units will consist of a minimum of 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, a family room, kitchen, and a 2-car front-facing attached garage. So you and the residents know what type of units will be put in that development. There will be no townhouses or 2-story buildings. I know that people look down on those because of the 2nd story. People can look out from their windows to neighboring residential properties, and issues are raised because of that. So no townhouse units. Now, what we would propose, the building heights will be a minimum 1.5 stories. And the reason why we do that is because we're proposing these single-family or single-story condo units, which are very marketable, and quite frankly, there's a huge demand for this type of housing unit, not only in Shelby Township, but all over southeast Michigan. But we want the ability to put a loft or a study on the on the upper level, 1.5-story buildings or height, or a bonus room, for empty nesters. They buy these condos, their grandkids come over, they have someplace to go, someplace to play, or you want to have a bonus room or a study. It gives you the flexibility to do that. Now, that's not saying everyone will want that bonus room or 1.5-story. Some of the buyers will want single-story. But again, that depends on market demand, consumer demand, and what's out there. So with that being said, we've kind of modified our rezoning request to attach those conditions, which are binding by law. It'll give you the comfort level you may need as to what type of use and product is going there, and it'll also give the residents who are here this evening and who have opposed the written communications opposing the rezoning a comfort level knowing what they're going to get on that property. So with that being said, I am available to answer any questions. Our engineer also is here to the extent there may be any issues regarding utilities or site requirements. But again, this is a rezoning. Its conditions are attached. If the rezoning is recommended for approval, and then we go to the township board and they actually approve it, then we have to go through your site plan approval process. So at that point, we'll submit our site plans under the R5 ordinance. R5 allows up to 5 units per acre. Now, because of detention, the drain, other conditions, chances are we're not going to get 5 units an acre. We'll probably get somewhere around 24, 25 units for the entire development. So 4 to 4.5 units per acre because of all the site conditions. So, but again, that'll be during site plan and engineering process. And, this will be a very nice development. My client is anxious to get in there to develop. He's going to build these units. The intent is to sell them, and there's such a market, such a demand for these type of units. And we think it'll be a very nice development, aesthetically pleasing and, transitional from what the surrounding uses are, and it'll fit in very nicely in the area. So again, I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, we'll be here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kellis. Questions, I guess I can start out. This has been going on, I know Mr. Leany's owned the property. It's been the same owner for quite some time. 20 years ago, in 2005, there was a plan for 60 units initially that was reduced down to 48 units. It was for detached condos, for a concept plan. Then it was reduced again down to 32 units. That plan never went anywhere. Went from R10 or R12 down to R6, but it never went anywhere. 2006, in July, the board concurred with this body and approved a preliminary PUD with 27 detached single-family homes. No action was ever taken. So the current proposal that we have, and you've raised some good points about why R1B may not work there. You want R5, but you've talked about how aesthetically pleasing it's going to be, and you've come up all of these, make it sound like a great plan, but I don't have anything to judge it on. And you've mentioned 2 times in your presentation comfort level. I need a comfort level to where what I get for this plan is what I get for this plan, not just a blanket rezoning. And I'll ask Mr. Kirk a question in a minute, but a blanket rezoning with anything can go in there. I know you've gave us this supplemental email, which I haven't seen until tonight. Mentioning that, you had said that this is going to be detached units, right?
Attached.
Well, you said detached, so now you're saying it's attached.
No, these are multifamily attached units.
Oh, I thought I heard detached, so
I
it's
misspoke.
multifamily
Well, yeah,
attached
it's
units.
attached, yeah, that's-
Well, all of this,
Clear in the application and clear in the materials.
that's fine. All of this, though, why, before when you had the previous plan, and you even had drawings of plan, not you, but
Yeah.
whoever the petitioner was, Mr. Leany and his attorney, put together drawings through a PUD process of what it would look like. So let me ask, why are you not going through, why does the applicant not want to go through the PUD process where the planning commission could get that comfort level, where we see the site layout, we see the open space, we see the makeup of the buildings and the composition of the materials? Why would you not, since you did it before, why would you not want to do it this time?
Well, I can't speak for what happened in the past. I'm only here for this rezoning and the request. Certain conditions, who knows? Market conditions, economic conditions, not ready to develop at the time. What you're getting tonight, you're not, a rezoning with conditions gives you the comfort level you need as to what product is going in there. The site plan is a whole separate process, as you know. Should the rezoning be approved, he still has to go through your site plan under the R5 zoning. He's got to meet the setback requirements, the detention areas, minimum square footage for the site. All that will be dealt with during the site plan approval process. But you'll know that at least the product you're getting, and then it goes through site plan and engineering, and the plans will be tweaked at that point. He's going to have to meet your R5 ordinance requirement, and that will be your final site plan product at that point. So to say you need something to look at right now, we're proposing what the conditions will be. The site plan comes after the rezoning. They're not intended to run simultaneous. So that will come after, if the rezoning is approved. It's a whole separate process, as you know.
I'm not sure I got the answer I wanted, but anyway, you initially said you're going for R5, but you brought up that you have the ITC corridor, you have the drain, you've got these conditions on there that may not make it feasible as R1B, as you brought up.
Right.
And you did say you probably get closer to R4, so why not just come in and ask for R4? I'm just asking.
I'm sorry, you said R4?
You said, yeah, 4 to 4.5 units, didn't you? Isn't that closer to R4?
Yeah, but R5,
What would you, let me ask it this way, maybe I misunderstood you.
Mm-hmm.
With all of the conditions on this site, with the drain, the ITC corridor and all that, what would you get? You want R5, you said you may not get R5. What would you get?
we're requesting R5, so we can do up to 5 units. In actuality, with the drain issue and the detention, we'll probably end up with less than that, but we want the ability that if we can engineer the site under the R5 zoning to get 5 units per acre, that's what we want. That's
So you
what
want the ability to squeeze more?
Well, again, we can't
density
squeeze
in
if
there.
it doesn't meet your ordinance.
No, I understand that, but okay. Well, I'm not at the comfort level personally yet, so I don't know where we'll go, but that's my initial offering. Anybody else have any questions? Any commissioners?
Mr. Chair, with the approved PUD back, what year was it?
2006.
2006, I missed the year.
It was a preliminary in 2006, but they took no action after that.
Okay, so what was it, was it rezoned or was it just a PUD approval?
There was no zoning attached to it. It was just a preliminary PUD review.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Kirk, I will ask you, the email that he sent late today with these conditions that he listed. Does that tie bar him to making sure now, okay, we're going to, if we went with the rezoning and he gave us these, I don't know, does this email legal enough to say he's got to meet what's here?
Yes. The ordinance, the statute provides that they can attach conditions. We can't make him do conditions, but he can put conditions on this rezoning, such that if it does get rezoned, they're subject to these conditions. Now, these conditions then rezone it, and he has to plug these conditions into a site plan, which meets with side yards, landscaping, and all those type of items.
So that was my question. You're just convinced the email as a standing document is legally sufficient?
Well, it's the email, and then he'll put on the record.
Right.
It goes in our minutes, and then ultimately that's approved. If they don't, then it can revert back to the zoning if they don't proceed with it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
the issue I have is I'm somebody who needs to see it, right? So I need to see a site plan, right? So, I mean, I know it's not required for you to come the site plan, but I just can't wing it and say, okay, well, I believe what you say. I don't see nothing on paper. Let's see what happens.
Well, yeah.
I'm just not that guy.
I understand, but you'll see the site plan during the site plan process. We can't submit a site, actually legally, we can't submit a site plan for a rezoning, for a straight rezoning, because it's not binding. I can come in here and show you the prettiest site plan, and you recommend approval of the rezoning request based on that concept plan. And then if I get my rezoning, I come in and do something totally different, okay? So I cannot submit a site plan for a straight rezoning by law. What I can do is offer the conditions I did, so at least you know, when we do come in with that site plan, they're going to be duplex, fourplex, fiveplex, whatever, the site will bear, and they'll be, with the floor plan, or the bedrooms, of the family room, two-car attached garage. Those are the units that you'll be getting on the site plan, so.
So how many buildings and how many units are these in total
I'm sorry?
for the R5? How many buildings and how many units total?
Well,
looking at?
until we actually lay it out and engineer it, we don't have an exact number. But you do know that, at least you know, we cannot get more than 5 units to the acre. Chances are, because of detention and the drain that cuts, this is a difficult site. You've got a 50-foot drain that goes horizontally across the entire property, ITC corridor, all these issues. So, realistically, if you sit down and engineer it, you'll probably end up with maybe 24, 25 total units. Because of those, you've got to deduct those from your actual acreage when you're calculating your density.
I just think it'd be feasible, it'd make more sense if you came more prepared, saying, hey, we engineered it, this is what we can do.
Well,
move forward.
But that's putting the cart before the horse, see? We could come in here with all those engineered plans, and then you deny the rezoning. So it's all an exercise,
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes, thank you. In 2006, the planned unit development that came through was consisted of 27 single-family units. And so I understand the challenges that you have on the site.
Right.
I guess I'm not convinced that it cannot be developed R1B as it is currently zoned. I understand you may have less units and it's a little more challenging. I guess I'm not convinced that it can't be developed that way.
I don't know, I haven't seen that plan. I don't know how you got 27 single-family sites on 5 acres with with the drain and detention and all that. Can someone enlighten me on that? Because,
Even if I don't hold you to that, I'm just saying, even if I didn't see that piece of paper and you
Right.
came in today, I'm not convinced that it can't be developed R1B.
well, I can't. You can't look, to develop this for a 90-foot site, okay? It's $1,000 a linear front foot to develop. That's $90,000, okay, to develop the site. Then you're going to put a 90-foot site, you're not going to put a 1,300 square foot house on it. You're going to put a 3,000 square foot house. At $250 a square foot to build a house, even $200, that's $600,000 to $750,000 just to build the house. So now you're at $90,000, let's say plus $700,000. You're at $790,000 with no profit, okay? That doesn't even look at landscaping, contingencies. Usually there's a 10% contingency for unknowns. You're close to $800,000 to build a house on that property on a 90-foot lot with no profit in there for the developer or builder. Do you think that that's going to sell on that piece of property with overhead wires when there are so many other areas in Shelby Township, more desirable, more quiet, more private, further north, that allow for 90-foot lots, full developed subs right now that allow for 90-foot lots? Who's going to go here versus going to those developments? So that's the challenge we have, from a marketing, economic, feasibility standpoint. There's no way you can do, it's just, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's not marketable. There's no demand. No one's going to go buy a 90-foot lot over there and build a house on it when they can go into so many different areas of the township and do it. Not fronting on a major road, not surrounded by, you got industrial master planning to the north, you've got existing manufactured housing, you've got overhead wires, it just can't be done.
Maybe there's a happy medium between R1B and your R5.
Well, our R5 is a very low-density multifamily. It's a very low-density multifamily. When you're talking potentially 4.5 to 5 units per acre with attached units, nice duplexes or fourplexes, that's a nice development for this property, and it fits. And quite frankly, the township needs more of this type of housing than 90-foot lots. There's only so many $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 houses that, the market can absorb or that people can afford, quite frankly. This is a great area for this property and this type of development.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Callis, let's back up. You had mentioned, I'm looking at the site right now where the mobile home park is around the property. You had stated earlier there's a stub street to your property. Where is that stub street?
I was told it was to the north of the manufactured housing community.
Maybe I'm missing it. I don't really see it.
There's a stub in the manufactured housing into our property. Maybe not.
I don't see it. So, maybe I'm missing it. I'm not saying it's not there, but I don't see it on the. Hold on. Maybe we defined it. Mr. Kirk might have found it. Okay, I can see where it could be a stub street.
Yeah.
You're correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'll say for the record, I think when you look at the property and what's there, there is some cause, I think, to look at this as it cannot be developed as R1B. Now, whether the debate's going to be whether or not R5 is too much for the area, that's going to be an open question as I see it. But we'll see where this goes tonight. Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we open it to the public? Hearing none? Okay. We're going to open it for the public. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this rezoning request. Your remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. The Planning Commission is a recommending body. The Township Board will take into consideration these comments when making the final decision on the rezoning. So at this time, anyone in the audience, I'm sure there are some, who want to come down and let us know your position on this, for or against the rezoning, can come on down, take the podium, give us your name and address, and then after you're done, please make sure you sign in on the sign-in sheet. Sir, you first? Might as well. You signed a sheet already. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yep.
I recognize-
Put the mic down so they can hear you. Thank you.
Glenn Sloan, 48647 Kings Drive, Shelby Township. I recognize the challenges engineers would have trying to develop this lot, and I appreciate the information. When I talked to Nick in the planning department last week, he didn't have a lot of this information, so my comments probably supersede some of the.
Can everybody hear him?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. One thing I'd comment, he said they're going to go duplex up to 6 units, 6 residences in a unit, which would require an R6, I think. So we have to take that into account. Also, I heard casually 24 to 25 total units. I'm not sure if that's a good number or where we're at. One of the concerns I had, and you'll hear it. Anyway, I'm going to go through my comments, and again, a lot of it reinforces what was already said today. Some of it might be superseded by the additional information we had today. My name is Glenn Sloan. I'm a 27-year resident of Kingswood Estates subdivision on the south side of 22 Mile, slightly west of this development recommendation. I am on the HOA board for Kingswood, and although I am not here officially representing Kingswood, I have received negative feedback regarding the rezone request from numerous neighbors. The vast majority of the residential development in our area is single-dwelling subdivision homes. The trailer park is one exception and grandfathered into our community. One concern I have on the proposed rezoning is the traffic impact on 22 Mile Road. As we see throughout Shelby Township, the traffic congestion continues to grow as an increased problem, with resultant increases in accidents and resident frustration. Many times throughout the day, especially at morning and evening rush hour, I have observed traffic backups at exits and entrances to 22 Mile with eventual frustration and risky moves to escape the backup. Placing another exit from the proposed area, especially opposite the high-traffic Ben Franklin, would create a high congestion intersection from both the north and south sides of 22 Mile. Also, as discussed, there is a North Clinton River watershed drain that runs through this property that would have to be respected in any development of the area. Another comment relates to the rezoning request for R5 designation or 5 dwellings per unit. The developer has not submitted any actual plans, which we discussed, for development, but I have to believe that they have preliminary business and layout plans to support the request for this high density. I'm not sure of the protocol for rezoning, but as I heard this today, if I were deciding in your position, I would want to understand the final usage of the property. An R5 rating would result in, and could result in excess of 40 dwellings on this 5-acre property. I strongly request that the commission deny the request for R5 rating based on comments. An incentive for future development of this property would be rezoning to a 2-family or R3 classification rather than the R5 requested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Will you please
He
sign in?
signed in already. He's good.
Okay.
He did. Anybody else want to speak? Come on down, sir.
Hello, my name is Brian Vogel, 47160 Liberty Drive. I'm in Ben Franklin subdivision. I found out tonight it's a less desirable area, apparently. When I look at 22 Mile Road, everything is single-family residential between M53 and Shaner, except for Shelby West. So now we want to try and force something else in there and have a mishmash again. When I look around Shelby Township, that's one of the reasons I moved here, is it's a residential area. Let's keep it residential. Somebody might have to take a haircut here on the lot. You know, they might not make a killing on it, but I'm on 1/3 of an acre. No problem there. So I would say, let's keep it residential. I don't really see a need for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Make sure you sign in, Mr. Vogel. Anybody else wish to speak? Come on down, sir.
Hi, my name's Mike Erickson. I'm at 4577 Liberty Drive. I'm also in Ben Franklin subdivision. I'm actually on our board. I'm not here on behalf of our board, but I'm here on behalf of just being a resident. So one of the things I look at is when I come out of 22 Mile, right, like we have about 300, I think like 278 or something like that in the Ben Franklin subdivision. So making a left-hand turn out of 22 Mile can be difficult, but it's 22 Mile Road. So I would be concerned of where that driveway would get placed on 22 Mile in terms of, you know, looking at the average daily traffic of 22 Mile. I would ask that a traffic study be, you know, be done in lieu of rezoning. So those are just the couple of quick concerns I have, you know, but I am concerned about making a left-handed turn on 22 Mile when I come up to the 22 Mile entrance. So that would be my biggest concern with, you know, this gentleman said 24 units. So, you know, that's my biggest concern with basically traffic on 22 Mile and being able to make that left-handed turn safely. If they were able to propose to get something into the trailer park where they could access their driveway through there, I would have no opposition to it. But that's what I got.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Erickson. Anyone else wish to speak?
My name is Audrey Victor. I live in the Kingswood subdivision. My address is 48375 Rosewood Drive. And I've been in Shelby Township for about 32 years. And one of the reasons I moved to Shelby Township so long ago is the beautiful homes, the single-family homes that are everywhere. And the buildup has been mostly beautiful, more beautiful single-family homes. And some of them are selling now. The new ones that are being built at 25 and Shaner, you could easily pay $1 million for them. So I really am interested in to know, since I'm a...
Ma'am, speak, address the chair,
I'm
please.
interested to know that I think that the buyer has in mind what he plans to sell these condos for, and he has an idea of approximately how many, well, it would be single-family homes, but in condos.
We can ask him that when,
Okay,
at
good.
the end of the, yeah.
And then the other, I agree with what everyone has said. 22 Mile Road can be a nightmare if you're on the north side and trying to go east, or if you're on the west side, on the south side and trying to go the other way west. You might wait 5 minutes, depending on the time of day. So adding, the other comment was on where this driveway would be if it was approved. You know, that would be a good thing to consider also.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Next, come on down, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Maureen Mazzatenta. I've been in the area about 18 years at 48821 Palmyra. We're just on the opposite side of the hill. Traffic patterns during those 18 years have changed a lot. I second everything that they've said about just getting in and out of our subdivision as it is. You've added the 2 crosswalks to help, pedestrian and bike crossings. That's helped, and it's also created a little confusion because not everyone knows how to use those. One of them is very close to the Ben Franklin in and out, and also the pavement areas. Some have the extra paved turnoff, some just have the gravel where you can't go around. So especially at Ben Franklin, it's kind of a dicey area already. Every block, there's a street to go in and out of the subdivisions, plus a very busy ballpark during the summer and the spring. That adds a lot. The mobile homes add a lot. That's been there. But I'm a little nervous adding these extra buildings, which I'm not clear whether they're duplexes entirely, or fourplexes, or fiveplexes, which can increase number of people living there. So I'd want more clarity too, whether are these just duplexes or are they fiveplexes? That I think, could double the traffic going in and out of an already very congested 2-lane road. So I just second the traffic concerns primarily.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? You're what? I'm not that scary. Come on down. I'll be nice, I promise.
My name is Denise Smith.
Denise, step up to the podium, move the mic down so they can hear you good. Okay, now go ahead.
My name is Denise
Breathe and
Smith.
take it. Go ahead.
I got a letter on Thursday. Any of you read it or not? Please read it before you get to make a choice. I live at 12596 22. My house is directly across the street from the proposed property where they want to make this change at. There did used to be 2 houses there. They're not. They both got tore down. So I don't have another side street to be able to pull out of. I can't pull out a 21 mile to get out of my driveway. I don't have any option but to go onto 22 mile to pull out of my driveway. It's a mess. I don't want a turn lane in front of my house. It's terrifying because people drive so fast. I sit in my living room at night and wait to hear crashes. I've had numerous deers hit outside my driveway. people's cars have been hit, coming in and out of Ben Franklin, they've been hit, out of my driveway, they've been hit. And then when, like she said, in the springtime, there's all that traffic over there at the park. You have all the people coming out of the trailer park. So to think that, I mean, 24 doesn't sound like a lot, but I'll be battling 50 more cars every day, probably at a minimum, to get out of my driveway. I just think that, they can do something with the property and not have it be so big. So, that's just my opinion.
Well, you did a very good job for being scared. That's good. Make sure you sign in. Make sure you sign in. Anyone else wish to speak? Come on down, sir.
Oh, and my house is 1,300 square feet on almost an acre right there.
Static. I'm Ken Victor. I live at 48375 Rosewood Drive, Shelby Township. I agree with pretty much everything that's been said tonight. I'm a little bit confused with the idea of we don't have a site plan, we don't know what it's like, we need to engineer it. I don't think it's that bad. Having worked in automotive for a long time, it doesn't take a lot to PowerPoint or to lay out something and say, this is kind of the site that I see, here's how the houses would kind of be laid out. No one has to engineer, what materials you're using and everything going on. I'd also like to know, kind of what materials are going to be used. Is this going to be, quality materials? Is it going to be tossed up there? You've got possibly 27 homes or 27 dwellings, 48 possible cars, lots more traffic. But it strikes me that you should be able at this time to take something similar and say, these are the type of units that we would expect to see at this time. And while you don't have to engineer the whole neighborhood, and you don't necessarily have to put a 300,000 square foot home on there, you could go a bit smaller. That it seems like constraints were made just so that you can kind of force the zoning decision the way that you want it, as opposed to the way we'd like to see it. That's all. Thank you.
To that end, I will say the previous plans that they had conceptual layout, and they also included the material and how the buildings would look. So I tend to agree with you. It's not that hard to come up with some conceptual plan to help us get the comfort level that we need to make a good decision. So just to state that for the record. Anyone else wish to speak? This is your chance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil DeChambeau. I live at 54055 Mound Road here in Shelby Township. I'm here tonight with my mother, who lives at 48940 Ben Franklin Drive, which is the corner house on Ben Franklin and 22 Mile Road, which is directly across from this piece of property. My parents bought this their home that they live in now in 1984. We grew up there, my brothers, my sister, and I. So we've seen this area change quite a bit over the years. As you all know, there are the three subdivisions on the south, Ben Franklin, Somerset Lakes, and Kingswood, two of which have only one access in and out onto 22 Mile Road. The mobile home community across the street has 644 individual residences using one entrance. The stretch of road from this piece of property to the furthest approach, which would be Kingswood, is less than a third of a mile. Not to mention Lombardo Park, as the neighbors here have all mentioned, the congestion when the ball games get out and all the activities in the summer can be absolutely ridiculous to navigate through. We've actually made it a point to leave the house that borders 22 Mile Road to drive all the way down to the 21 Mile Road entrance to leave the subdivision because the traffic is so congested throughout the day, not just at certain times, but throughout the day. Not to mention the decel lanes at the mobile home community, as well as on the south side. They have traffic that pass people that are turning left, turning right, which makes it absolutely hectic, very dangerous. There have been quite a few accidents throughout the years. When I cut my parents' lawn, I find car parts from these accidents, without a doubt, and I'm honest to God, in their front yard, from recent accidents, whatnot. The crosswalks that these other neighbors have mentioned about are congested in the summertime. There's been a pedestrian bridge that was constructed on the north side, which would bring the traffic and the foot traffic, bike traffic. Now, people use it all the time, and they're going to bring traffic right along this entrance again. We're just very concerned about this extra added congestion here in an already difficult navigable situation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? 3 times, back up to the board. Excuse me. Mr. Callis, you want to come back up? Julia Weiss, coming up, why don't you do your review of the property, the proposed rezoning to?
Okay, great. Thank you, Chairman. So this property is approximately 5.8 acres, as Mr. Callis indicated. Currently, it is zoned R1B, which is single-family residential with the 90-foot lots, 14,400 square feet in area. It contains the Catholic drain that runs along east and west on both of the parcels that are in question here, and it also contains a 60-foot wide easement along the west side of the parcel from north to south. With that being said, I just kind of want to answer a question. I know people were concerned about the access. Typically, what the Macomb County Department of Roads does is line up the roads to the south. So there's a road would line up to the street that is just immediately south as far as access goes for the site. As far as the master plan is concerned, this parcel is zoned, is master planned for MHP, mobile home park units. So it's consistent with the development surrounding the area to the north and west there. With that being said, while this site may not be able to be developed as your traditional R1B single-family zoning because of the, characteristics that Mr. Callis already explained with the ITC corridor, the drains on the property, and given the limited site, this is kind of an infill parcel anymore. So with that being said, I think there may be, some of the site requirements that may not be able to be met further down the line with the R5. The R5 zoning district is intended to comply with the R5, obviously, zoning district requirements, which include recreation area, the setback, the perimeter setback is 50 feet. Interior setbacks, the buildings also need to meet interior setbacks, distance between buildings, front to front, side to side, rear to rear. There's all those setbacks as well. So my only concern is while I, kind of understand that maybe the R1B zoning district is not completely entirely for this parcel, I don't know that, the R5 is very restrictive as far as setbacks goes, and I just question what kind of development or how much of a development, if you were going to meet all those interior setbacks and restrictions for the multiple family, what are we really down to as far as development on this property? That's all I have.
And that gets kind of what I was saying earlier about R5, R4. I may have misspoke, but what you end up with may not be what you get as R5, so why not just come in and ask for something less? But that's what I tried to get to. Maybe I didn't do it so eloquently as Julie did, but. Now, getting to some of the questions that were brought up. One of the questions one of the ladies brought up was the price of the condos. Do you know what they're, or whatever, the price of the individual units, what they're going to be?
The price of the units, we haven't priced them out yet, but generally developments and product type like we're proposing generally range from 1,400 to 2,100 square feet, depending on if it's a duplex or a fourplex, and the floor plan involved. Those units are typically priced in today's market pretty high, actually, but what my client will be looking to do is bring it in at a price point that's in the low to mid 400s to low 500s, is generally, because of the cost of materials, interest, and all that. It's, unfortunately, the days of $250,000 condos are don't exist. So, but obviously with the type of product that he's proposing, it'll be cost effective, and he'll be able to develop them as attached units, and it'll be more price efficient that way.
Mr. Callis, you sent an email to Mr. Kirk with the stipulations for the property. Why are you? I'll speak for your client. Is your client not in favor of proceeding with a planned unit development under this for this property?
Yeah, so first of all, the property is 5 acres. Do we even qualify for PUD? Is there a minimum acreage requirement?
We did it back in 2006.
Yeah, but under today's zoning ordinance, because most of the communities I deal with, to have a PUD, typically you need 10 acres or more. So I don't even know if 5 acres qualifies. But
It does qualify, as long as you have certain characteristics on the property, which you do, which is the drain, that would qualify it.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've outlined, I mean, I agree R1B is not going to work.
Right.
Okay. I think a case can be made for that. But my question to you is, are you opposed to going through the PUD process and giving us the comfort level to look at the layout, look at the materials of each unit, and look at the open space and just plan it all? Are you in favor of doing that?
Well, yes, this is not a site that's conducive to PUD, because if we get the R5 rezoning, then we just come in for site plan approval.
So your answer is no?
No, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Do you have anything further you'd like to add?
Well, no, just some of the concerns with the traffic, and I understand those concerns. It's obviously a concern that every rezoning I present, but these will be attached multifamily units. Typically, those cater to empty nesters, senior citizens, snowbirds, who have a place up here in the summer and are down south in the winter. So, it's not families of 3, 4, 5 people living in these units. There's less traffic, less vehicles. People coming in and out of the development are typically off-peak hours because they're retirees. They're not working. They're not leaving to go to work the same time that everyone else is. So the traffic concern is not going to be a major issue with this type of development. And we've seen that in these type of developments in all the communities that we deal with. So as far as the materials to be used, that's something that's not part of a straight rezoning. Even if submitted, they're not binding. And again, when the site is actually fully site plan and engineered, all those issues will be dealt with at that time in front of this planning commission. So I think those were the issues that I have written down. I don't know if there are any more.
Any other commissioners have any concluding questions or comments? Hearing none, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The Planning Commission's decision for this rezoning must be based on the following: the practicality of this rezoning request and the effect on the surrounding area, the owner's right to use his land, do current growth and development patterns warrant this rezoning, is the proposed rezoning in accordance with the master plan. Planning Commission may recommend approval, disapproval, or table this proposal to evaluate the information received this evening, and we are voting on a straight rezoning. So with that, motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Casale, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for bringing up the proposal to maybe come in as a PUD, in which case you would come in with your proposal on paper, number of units, the layout that we could see, and it come in as a PUD with this 5-acre parcel. Since you did not want to do that, and you want to come as a straight rezoning today, I am going to move to deny rezoning number 24-42 George Leaney. George Leaney Proposed Rental LLC, 12533 and 12595, 22 Mile Road, parcels number 23-07-23-300-009 and 23-07-23-300-011, located on the north side of 22 Mile Road, west of Shaner Road. Proposed rezoning from R1B, single-family residential, to R5, multiple-family, low-rise, based on the consensus of the Planning Commission.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Casale, supported by Commissioner Moore. Now, I'm just going to put this out there as a caveat, just for discussion. He's coming in with a rezoning. He's proposed conditions on the rezoning. Multifamily attached dwelling units. Buildings to consist of duplex on up to 6-plex units. Dwelling units will consist of minimum 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, family room, kitchen, and 2-car front-facing garage. No townhouse, 2-story buildings. Building height shall be 1.5 stories. or the height necessary to accommodate an upper-level loft, bonus room, or study area. Denial means these conditions would go away and would default to the R5 straight without any conditions. Mr. Kirk?
No, those are, that's his offer tonight.
Right.
They filed an application for rezoning. He's asked that those be the conditions, so that's the proposal.
Sure, now, if it's denied, these go away, correct?
You're not denying it, you only recommend.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, you're
It goes to the
correct.
board the same way.
Correct.
As a conditional rezoning with a recommendation for denial.
Okay.
The board then
These
decides.
are not then taken into consideration for the board, or they will be?
They will be.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So there is a motion and a second on the denial. Any more questions for the, go
Yeah,
ahead, Lisa.
I guess I need to clarify that then. The denial is, we are accepting what was turned in at 6 PM tonight as the conditions?
Statute allows you to make the conditions anytime. He could make more conditions at the board level.
Okay.
That's how wide open it is.
Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
so are we denying, is what Ms. Casali saying, that if we say no today, that means he didn't get the rezoning to
No,
five?
no, we say no today. If the denial, if the motion to deny is approved, it goes to the township board. They can always approve it. Because we're recommending, they can always make this determination, looking at this, Mr. Kirk, correct me if I'm wrong, looking at these conditions, they could say, we're going to grant the rezoning based on these. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's not done. Our part of it would be done if that were denied tonight.
Yeah, so if we,
So
if we say no, it's not going to RB5, he's got to go to the
It goes to
council, the trustees.
Township board.
Yes,
For
township
Go ahead, Mr. Kirk.
He does no matter what. You don't make any
Right.
decisions besides recommending.
Okay, okay.
Board can only make that decision.
Yes, correct.
So our denial takes into consideration the conditions he brought up this evening, so. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Motion to deny. Okay, Commissioner Casali?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner DeShaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Apone?
No.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
And chair votes no. Motion to deny is approved. It goes on to the township board. Recommendation to deny goes on to the board. Now, I know people are going to ask, Julie, are they going to get notified again when it goes to the board?
No, we do not notify the residents when it goes to the board. They would have to look at the township website. Usually it's the Thursday before the township board meeting that the agenda is posted. So if they're on a township board, it would be listed on that agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're all set. Thank you, Mr. Callis. Planning direct, do we have any old business? No. Any other new business anybody wants to bring up from the floor? Probably not. Planning director's report. Julie?
I don't have anything, Chairman.
Nothing?
Thank you.
All right, any other business from the floor? Anybody want to speak on anything else? Okay, hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.